What would you say is kind of the state of converged buying right now?
Oh, that's a long way off because we still have a world where linear is still a much bigger spend, and linear has had their processes and tools and technologies in place for decades. The programmers, the networks, the MVPDs have made multi-million-dollar investments in those things, and you don't just rip and replace them overnight. So that's going to be around for a long time. And those systems are old enough that it's not really easy to plug in a programmatic buy to it. Part number one, the technical side. Part number two is, and I forget who it was, but one of the companies in the wave that we talked to crystallized the difference so clearly in saying that TV is a futures market and digital is a high-frequency trading market. And those two ways of operating are fundamentally different and will stay that way because video and television is still fundamentally a much more limited inventory supply than digital is. So that's going to continue to persist and continue to require a different transaction structure than the digital world has.
So maybe relatedly, just read in the news one of the companies that was in our valuation, Xander, just made an acquisition. Can you talk a little bit about what you see there and what you think matters about that?
Yeah, I mean, Xander bought Clipped, which is a supply-side platform. They've been around for a long time. They're actually up in Somerville, not far from our Cambridge headquarters. And I've known them for a bunch of years. Been really doing interesting work. A lot of old cable heads, who come in, as you were saying, they have that old experience. Now they're coming into the technology world, trying to figure out how do we bridge this gap. So I think it's a really interesting acquisition. Clearly is going to give Xander a lot of power to reach beyond just the Time Warner media assets that are within the AT&T family where they are now. And clearly a way for them to make a bigger, even bigger play in this converged world than they were making before. But also a very different rationale than the one you were talking about before, the DataZoo Roku purchase, where I see that as more of a straight technology purchase. Roku had cobbled together some internal technology that everybody I talked to said it was just terrible. It was just really primitive. And rather than build on that or build something new, it was much smarter for Roku to buy it. And they've got very ambitious plans for their advertising revenue stream. And this, I think, will help accelerate them.
So last question, just anything interesting that you see big media companies doing? Like, what do you think about what Disney's up to right now, for example?
2020 is going to be such a fascinating year because you've got Disney Plus launching in a little over a week, November 1st. Hot on the heels of that, you've got Apple TV launching, HBO Max sometime after the first of the year. So now, so far, we've kind of lived in a world where there's Netflix and Hulu, and for a long time, it was like Netflix was all. And a lot of people, go back 3 years, people had given up Hulu for dead. But Hulu, came on, which to me says that consumers are understanding this world of streaming is not like a one or the other. That these different services have different value propositions, different content sets, and it's more about how do you find the ones that, when you put them together, give you the most content that you want for, of course, the least amount of money. So now, consumer has choice, Netflix, Hulu, I haven't even mentioned Amazon, and now Disney, HBO Max, Apple TV, Roku is building up a lot of providers on their platform. So 2020 is going to be this year, a lot of people are arguing about, will Disney kill off Netflix or, whatever. But I think they're thinking about it wrong because it's really about how will consumers make this choice of what is the right combination of these services for them? How many of those services are they willing to subscribe directly to and manage all these different things? Already we're seeing some signs of subscription fatigue among consumers. And really, to me, even the next big question is, people have been hyping themselves out about cord cutting, for the last 5 years, but it's still the true cord cutters who have no relationship with cable or satellite are still single-digit percentages. Now, if you put together the right package out of that big choice of all those content players, will more people feel like they've got all the content they want and now I can really cut the cord?
I wonder, there's also a separate question around the future of subscription models. Will you just subscribe to something in perpetuity, or will there be models where you essentially can subscribe to for a week to binge watch the show you want, or subscribe to the show and then walk away? There's so many interesting questions around the future of bundling and subscription services, which doesn't even account for the whole future of advertising, which clearly is also incredibly important. But I think we're out of time.
Stay tuned, Joanna, because I've been talking with our colleagues at Forrester Analytics about fielding both some consumer voices, qualitative research to delve into that, as well as some quantitative research to see how do people think about those trade-offs.